Avery Michael. Is that he made me a mom again.
Welcome to Still a Part of Us, a place where moms and dads share the story of their child who was stillborn or who died in infancy. I'm Winter.
And I'm Lee. We are grateful you joined us today. Please note that this is a story of loss and has triggers.
Thanks to our lost parents who are willing to be vulnerable and share their children with us.
If you're listening to this podcast, just know that on our YouTube channel there are pictures and videos that are related to the stories that are being shared.
Subscribe and share it with a friend that might need it and tell them to subscribe. Why? Because people need to know that even though our babies are no longer with us, they're still a part of us. We are so excited to have Leesa here today to talk about her sweet son, Avery, and just excited that we were able to finally get in touch and be able to find a time that would work for both of us. So, Leesa, thank you so much for coming on and chatting with us today.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for letting me reach out and explaining and just sharing.
Oh yes, we're always so happy when you parents are willing to share with us. Okay, well, a little bit about yourself, Leesa. Can you give us about who you are, where you're located, and at the time of Avery's birth, can you tell us what your family looked like?
So right now I am currently married. Besides Avery, he has an older brother, Logan, and then a younger brother, Grayson.
Mm-hmm.
And Logan is actually in second grade, so I have a second grader.
Sweet.
And Grayson is about to go into kindergarten next year.
Oh,
And
fun.
I'm actually a preschool teacher.
Oh, awesome.
So I'm surrounded by little babies all the
Yeah,
time. So
yeah.
it's fun, it's rewarding, and then it also it helps me understand children better,
Mm-hmm.
like seeing it from a different perspective. So
Totally. Yeah. I That's so fun. And what part of the country are you guys located?
we live in the West, so we live in Nevada, in Las
Okay.
Vegas.
Awesome. Yeah. We're in the same time zone, which is nice.
Yeah, so
It-
it's hard to find people that live in the same general
yeah.
time zone.
Yep, it is. Okay, and Leesa, what do you guys like to do in your spare time, hobbies, that type of thing?
So we do go to church every Sunday.
Awesome.
I like to crochet. It helps me be mindful. It's something that I've been trying to work on the last couple of years is really be mindful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, it's definitely it helps me.
Yeah.
And then I like to play video games and we like to watch a lot of movies and I spend time with my boys and my husband. So it's always a lot of like family time since we don't get to
Yeah.
spend a lot of time during the week.
Yeah. That's great. Yeah, it's always you got to take the time when you have them, especially when they're little, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're very active boys. So it's
Yeah.
always like never a dull moment.
Yeah. I was going to say you're a boy mom, huh? You're
All
straight
the
across
through and
boy
through.
mom.
Yeah.
That's super fun. Well, okay, so then you guys already had your first son, and tell me about when you guys were planning or maybe not planning for Avery. Were you guys hoping to get pregnant again, add to your family, or was he a little bit of a surprise?
So actually all three are actually from a previous relationship.
Oh, okay. Uh-huh.
Yeah. But we weren't really actively trying. Avery
Mhm.
was just like a surprise.
Oh, okay. So he was a
He
little
was
bit of
a
a
surprise
surprise. Okay.
baby. Logan was about, I want to say 9 months when I found out
Oh,
that I
okay.
was pregnant with Avery. So he was not planned
Yeah.
or anything. He was just like, hello, hi,
Yes.
mommy, I'm here.
I want to be a part of this. Let's do
Yeah.
this.
Yeah. And I was shocked and I was scared because I was still
Mhm.
like postpartum and everything and
Yeah.
and I don't think I had like a regular period at the time. So it
Right.
was just like, you know,
Just like this is new. This is going to be
like this is okay.
okay.
And I was like, I'm gonna have two under two, and this is just how it's gonna be, and I'm okay with it.
You have a good attitude. Kind of be like, oh man, what have I gotten myself into?
Yeah. But I was excited, like, for them to actually, like, grow up together.
Yeah. That is something that would be nice that they're gonna be buddies.
Yeah. That's something that I was really looking forward to and just, like, all, like, I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. It was just something that I was, like, really looking forward to.
Yeah. And okay, so you guys found out you were pregnant, and so did you end up going in kind of quickly to get, prenatal care, get your first doctor's
Yeah.
appointment?
So with Logan, I was high risk, and then
Oh, okay.
I was like I've always been high risk when I was pregnant, so it was
Okay.
just something that I was already like, okay, I'm high risk. I need to make my appointments. I need to get in right away.
Yeah.
So that was definitely something that I made sure that happened.
Yeah. And did you when you had that first appointment, were you guys able to like look at an ultrasound or just find the heartbeat?
We did the whole 9
Mhm.
because, I have an incompetent cervix, so they needed to make sure that baby was growing and there
Yes.
was a heartbeat and everything was measuring where it should be.
Great.
So
Okay.
that's always a thing.
Yes. You should always be checking those things. So good. Okay, so everything
Yeah,
looked okay. Like at that first appointment, looks really
yeah,
good. Felt really
yeah,
good.
everything looks good. My HCG levels, they were fine. Everything was
Okay.
measuring.
Where it should be.
Everything was fine.
Okay. And then because it sounds like you're high risk, you've had an incompetent cervix in the past. Were there some discussions about just watching that and seeing how it went, or were they going to maybe put in a cerclage? I mean, like, what was the
So
plan for that?
Logan, I started going to preterm labor at like 24 weeks.
Oh,
So that was definitely something that we were talking about like progesterone because it did work last time
oh,
with
okay, okay.
Logan. So we did the suppositories.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So we were talking about that, and then I don't know, like everything was just working out. My cervix wasn't acting up. Everything was like really going smooth and like, but I was still going to like my high risk doctor.
Oh, good. Okay.
But yeah, everything was fine. Like,
Check it out just as it should be. So,
yeah,
but keeping an eye on things, it sounds like.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Great. Did you have any thoughts about if it was gonna be a boy or girl or
We thought it was gonna be a girl.
oh, really? You're like, "Boy,
Yeah,
girl,
cause
yeah."
I wasn't I wasn't very sick
Oh,
with Avery.
okay.
So with Logan, I was all the time, like every day up until like 6 months. I was sick.
Yeah. Okay. You're
Yeah,
okay. So you're just like,
yeah.
"Oh, baby's the other," or yeah, and other
Yeah, I was
gender.
like, "Maybe this is a good sign, like, I'm okay with this. I don't have morning sickness, like,
We'll take it.
we'll take it." And I had
Oh,
energy and I was fine.
okay. So you're going along at all these appointments, everything is good. And did you have any genetic testing done or
We we did, I did because they suspected that it might have been my kidneys or his father's kidneys,
mhm,
but when they checked, everything was fine.
okay,
Nothing was out of sorts or anything.
okay. And then you probably had the 20 week, right? The 20 week, that's the
Y
anatomy scan is usually about when that
Yeah.
happens.
No,
Was that
it was
about
18
okay,
weeks.
so you
I was
did it a little
18.
earlier. Okay.
Yeah.
So tell me what happened at that appointment.
So I had an appointment that morning on the 23rd of September, and we went in and it was normal, they checked my what like my belly and everything,
Mhm.
and they're like, "Okay, you're a little bit small." I was like,
Mm.
"Okay, well, I've always been small. Like I'm 5'2". I'm
Yeah.
not a very big person, so
Yeah.
and then they were checking my amniotic fluid and they noticed that there wasn't much in there. They did the anatomy scan anyway, but they couldn't really see anything because I didn't have a lot of water in there.
Mhm. Mhm.
So they, I don't know, we were in there for about 2 hours. Like,
S Okay.
yeah, they couldn't see anything, and they saw his face and they saw like his limbs, his arms, legs, everything. But then when it came down to his kidneys and
Mm.
his heart, they couldn't really see anything. It was like really, it was black. Then they even did the vessels to see if they had any, if he had any, like the arteries or anything, and they couldn't see anything. And they took the pictures, they talked to the, I don't know, I was alone in the doctor's office for like 45 minutes by
Oh,
myself.
okay. Oh. And so you were the only person that went to that appointment. Your partner at the
Yeah,
time didn't
my
hadn't
my ex-husband was with Logan.
Oh, yes, okay, yeah. Needs to
Yeah,
take care of
so
him.
I was
Okay.
alone.
Okay. So they left you for, like, a
Yeah,
long time, which
yeah,
is not
and I
great.
was like crying, and like I was worried, and like
Yeah.
I was like, "What's wrong?" And they were like, "The doctor's still looking, and the doctor's still looking." I'm like, "What is wrong?" Like,
Yeah. I would be
and
asking that
I
too.
kept like freaking out. I was like, the thing that I thought was that he had Down syndrome and they didn't want to tell me. And I was like, just tell me. I'm like, it's fine. Like, we can
Mhm.
deal with it. It's fine.
Yeah.
Like, I'm fine. Like, just tell me. I'm
Just tell
freaking
me.
out over here.
Yeah.
And then they brought the doctor in,
Mhm.
and the doctor was like, can I take a second look? And she looked, and she said, you don't have water at all. And she asked, she's like, you don't, there's no leaking. She asked me how much water I drink. I drink water all the time.
Mhm.
And she was like, there's no water. And she said, it's either you're leaking, which you're not, or there's something wrong with the baby. And she said, by the looks of it, and from what we have come up with, is that there's no water around baby. That must be, there's something wrong with the baby.
Mm.
I said, okay, well, what's wrong? And they said he has no kidneys at all. There's no blood flow to the kidneys at all, and then also he has a hole in his heart, and he doesn't have any of his like major organs, like his stomach or anything.
Oh.
Yeah, I didn't know that. They kind of laid it on, like, I don't like that they laid on so thick, and like
Yeah.
you're supposed. I'm like, what? And I was just in. I don't know what happened after they said that he didn't have kidneys or heart. I don't know. My brain like get shut. It just, I
Shut down. Yeah.
disconnected.
Mhm.
I was like, what do, and like I just stared at her. I was like, what
Yeah.
do we do? What can I do? Is there anything that I can do? And she said, unfortunately, no.
Mm.
She said there's less than a 1% of him surviving. And she said there are options. And the thing is that they jumped so quick to the options that you have. They don't like give you a second to breathe when you're in the in the doctor's office, you know?
Yeah, what you're in shock, right?
Yeah.
And, sometimes, unfortunately, the medical community is really not great at, letting people process, and then also, like, they've thrown out a lot of big terms sometimes too, some big
Yeah.
medical terms, and it's hard to process that.
Yeah. And I had osteohygiamenos.
Mhm.
So basically my uterus was crushing him.
Oh,
That's that's the term. That's how they described it, because there is no water in my uterus.
yeah.
It like he was literally like being crushed by my uterus.
Oh,
So I was like, that's great. Thank you for for that.
that's
Like,
yeah.
it was hard.
Did they allow you to, like, call your husband at the time and kind
Yeah,
of
he came in. I was crying. I was like,
yeah.
I couldn't talk. I was shaking. I was crying. There are no words. I was just like, I felt alone and I didn't know what to do and I was confused. And there's these people around me that know how to help me. I thought that they knew how to help.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, I guess in the situation, there's nothing that they could do.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess that's where my grieving started because there was nothing that I can do
Yeah.
except wait until whatever happens.
Your husband came in, and did they go through it with him too so that he
Yeah,
knew what was going on?
yeah.
What
And
was his reaction to that?
I don't know. I it felt like what I saw was that there was no color on his face after. There was like he was maybe just as shocked as I was.
Yeah.
I don't know how men process their emotions, so sometimes they could be a little more or less than you.
Yeah. Yeah. We're all different.
So
What did the doctor say then were your options? Because like you said, they kind of just jumped right into that.
yeah.
What did they tell you?
So they said that I could keep him, like stay pregnant, but the possibility of him passing before birth was a definite.
Mhm.
Also, I could again go through my whole pregnancy with the possibility of miscarrying, but have him a stillbirth.
Mhm.
Um, he could die shortly after birth, or I could have an abortion. And basically, the outcomes were all the same, no
Yeah.
matter what I wanted.
Yeah.
So, like, there was none that I liked, I guess. Like, my choices were nothing that I liked or nothing that I wanted.
Yeah.
So, like, I wanted, like, the end goal is to take your baby home. Like, from the first pregnancy test till the day you give birth. Like, that's the end result.
Yeah. You always hope for that. You always want that.
And when you're told that you can't bring your baby home, that's it. That's just like you just cut the life out of like that's cutting the
Yeah.
life out of the mom, like out of any parent.
Yeah.
That's just it's cutting the lifeline right out. So that's I felt like I did something wrong.
Yeah.
And we all us as parents, we always think that we did something wrong to cause something to happen.
Yep. There's always there's the blame that you lay on yourself.
And it was very heavy.
Yeah. What did you and your husband at the time decide to do? Did you guys take some time to?
We did take some time and I went a little crazy. Was I looked on the internet
Oh
looking for
man, I
answers.
know. Yeah.
So we took some time. I got really ahead of myself. I
Mm,
talked to doctors. I tried to at least. I emailed doctors to see if there was anything that they could do. Nothing. Nobody got in touch with me.
mm,
And then I was like, I don't know if I could, like, I wanted to carry him full term, but I knew that the odds were against me, like tenfold.
yeah. Yeah.
So I was like, maybe we can be induced. That way I can still see him, hold him, do all the things that I want to be able to do.
Yeah.
So I talked to the doctor and she said, let me talk to my boss, the general doctor there, and she said I will call you back within the next day or two.
Okay.
And she did, and we got the okay to do the induction.
Mhm. And you're still right around like you had your anatomy scan around 18 weeks, right?
Yeah.
And then when did you guys decide that to be induced?
Well, in the state of Nevada, you have up until 24 weeks. So I didn't have a very big window.
Mm-hmm.
So if I was going to do if I wanted the induction, then I had to have it at like 24 weeks. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to.
Yeah.
So time was against me, odds were against me. Everything was really not in my favor.
Mm-hmm.
And we decided that at 24 weeks we would be induced because
Okay.
I wanted extra time with him.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you go in, did you go into the doctors though throughout that
Yeah,
time between then and the induction?
I did. I think I went in 3 more times
Okay.
because I wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
I was like really beating myself up. And one time I did go in and they checked me, but they wouldn't check his heartbeat. They wouldn't check Avery's heartbeat. And they yelled at the nurse. I was so mad. I was like, check his heartbeat. Just like, check his heartbeat.
Yeah.
And she walked out and she talked to the doctor and I overheard the doctor and he was like, you need to do this for her because she's not. And plus, like, she didn't read my chart all the way through.
Okay.
Yeah. I was like, you need to do your job better. I was like, I'm sorry, but you need to do step by step because this is not. I was like, I'm not. I was like, I'm sorry. I'm freaking out. Things are not how they should be right now.
Yep.
And like, I was upset at myself because of the way that I reacted
Mm-hmm.
towards the communication.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, I was mad because I just wanted to hear his heartbeat.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so weird that she didn't check that. That's a pretty typical thing you do. And
Yeah, and I
okay.
think she was new.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I was really like I was upset and she's like, "I'm sorry." I was like, "No, I'm sorry. Like I
Mhm.
should be a little bit more compassionate, but I don't think I have that right now."
Yeah. Yes. It is. This is such a challenging situation.
It was. And like from then on, like every time I would go in, they would check my vitals and
Mm-hmm.
everything and then they would check his heartbeat.
Mm.
And that 20 seconds that they checked his heartbeat was like the greatest feeling because I could hear his heartbeat.
Yeah.
And I think I mean, hearing an unborn baby's heartbeat is the greatest sound you could ever hear.
Yeah. It's,
Like the
yeah.
sound could fill a room. And it's one of my favorite sounds. Like I don't know, it makes me happy, like, and it's so soothing and like knowing that you created this perfect little being and they have a strong heartbeat and they don't know anything about the outside world except what's inside you.
Yeah.
Like that's a beautiful thing to me.
That is a beautiful way to put it. I think, yes, I agree. At the time of your anatomy scan, did you guys find out that I know it's more difficult when you don't have the amniotic fluid or the water there. It's a little
Mhm.
bit harder to be able
It
to
is.
visualize. And so did you guys know Avery was going to be a boy or
They had
it
a hard time.
okay.
So they were guessing because they couldn't really see anything.
Yeah.
They said it looks like it's a boy. Okay, it looks like it's a boy. Like,
Okay.
well, if it looks like he's a boy, then he's a boy
Yeah.
because I don't, girls don't have
The extra
girls
yes.
don't have. So I'm like, okay, I'll take the guess. Like, but after that, I really knew that he was a boy.
Mm,
So, like, I knew that their guess was right. Just how my stomach was looking.
mm.
I don't know, like with boys, you don't really I mean, you show, but you show differently when you're pregnant with a girl. I've
Mm,
never had a girl, so I don't know, but that's just what I'm guessing.
yeah, I've heard that same thing too. Just like boys and girls sit in a little differently in the pelvis for some reason. So so
That's a
when
boy.
you kind of had an idea that it was a boy, did you guys start thinking of names and everything?
I had a name. I did with Avery Michael. If it was a girl, it was going to be Avery Rose, and then
Mm.
if it was a boy, it was going to be Avery Michael.
Okay.
So Avery has my dad's middle name.
Okay.
So that was something that I definitely asked my dad about, and he was like, "Well, yeah, I want a grandson with my middle name." I'm like, "Okay, I was just asking."
Sweet.
He was like, "Well, don't ask that again, because they can all have my middle name." I'm
Take
like,
it all.
"Okay, fine."
That's cute.
Yeah.
Okay. And did you guys, when you get those kind of, I've noticed that the people that we have chatted with, the parents we've chatted with that know at 20 weeks or the 18 weeks, basically the anatomy scan that things aren't looking good. And then they start anticipating, right? It's this anticipatory grief. What did you do in preparation between the time you found out till when you were going to be induced? Was there any things that you guys started to think about or plan for when he was actually born?
So we were before the anatomy scan, we were like getting all Logan's clothes ready and we were washing everything
Mm-hmm.
because before the anatomy scan, we thought, okay, we're going to have another boy, so we need to pull out all the baby
Yeah.
clothes
Yeah.
and, all the
Get it
fun
ready.
stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And we were talking about cribs and what colors he would have if it was a boy and, all those fun things
Yeah.
that you want to talk about. Like what animal is he gonna have in his room? Like
Yeah.
the animal prints and like the baby shower invitations. What do we want those to look like? Like we were just like really planning ahead because we were looking forward, you know. And I was like, and he's gonna be a winter baby, and I get to dress cute in all my winter clothes and have a big belly, and I don't have to be hot and sweaty.
Yeah. You're like, baby's going to keep me warm.
Yeah. So that's what I was planning. And he was supposed to be born the day before my birthday.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, I'm gonna have a baby for my birthday present. Like that's the greatest birthday present ever. Like,
Yeah.
and then I was like, we're gonna have my birthday party in the hospital room and all this. Like,
Yeah. You're like,
I was
this is
like,
going to be awesome.
yeah, yeah. And after the anatomy scan, I went home and I took all the baby clothes and I donated them.
Mm.
I took all the baby stuff and I donated all of it. I was like, I guess you could say I was in like a fit of rage, except
Yeah.
in a fit of grief
Yeah.
that I didn't want to see any baby stuff laying around my
Mm.
house. And I did it in 2 days.
Just got rid of it all.
I got rid of it all. And like I know some people, I don't know if a lot, but I believe some people like they regret getting rid of the baby stuff because at the time they weren't thinking clearly, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't regret it because needed I didn't want to see any of the baby stuff
Yeah.
because that's one thing that I read that it hurts more when you're in the presence of little baby things.
Yeah. Yeah, and everybody's different, but I think I would agree with you if that was for it was difficult for me also to when after our stillbirth it was I didn't want to see any of it.
Yeah, and when I would go into my doctor's appointments, I would always see pregnant women,
Mhm.
and I had to wait outside
Yeah, until they were really ready for
until
you.
they went. Yeah. or like if I sat next, I couldn't do it. I wasn't mad at her for being pregnant.
No,
I was
no,
not mad,
no. Yeah.
but I was like, I felt jealous. Like there's this jealousy that comes with knowing that your
Mhm.
baby is dying or going to die, and you see these women that have perfectly healthy pregnancies and babies.
Yeah. Yep.
And I felt like horrible for thinking that, like, and I would think, why do you get to keep your baby?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I read that that's just a thing of grief.
Yeah. Yes. M wanting the yes, wanting something that you know you're not gonna be able to
Yeah.
have.
And but at the same time, it's grief is weird. It's this weird finicky thing, like I don't know. I can't explain it.
No,
Grief is just a different animal.
it is. It is. Really quickly, Lisa, as a just a little bit of context, at the time of our recording, how long ago was Avery born?
Almost it'll be 6 years in November.
Yeah. Okay. So just a little bit of context because you were talking from when you said grief is weird. It's like it's been 6 years. It's almost 6 years, and it changes, right? Like it's so different, and we can talk a little bit more about that later. But I just it's like yeah, you, it's so funny, especially since you started grieving really early. If you think about it, it's
Yeah.
right from that anatomy scan. Okay, so did you guys decide on an induction date then?
Yeah. So originally it was supposed to be October 13th
Okay.
of 2017, but again with the laws in Nevada,
Mhm.
we were unable to because Avery Michael was still considered a viable pregnancy.
Okay.
So I was like, but he's got a fatal diagnosis. I was like, he's dying. He's going to die.
Yeah.
And I was shocked at myself for saying those words, like, and the nurse, when I told her that, she just like,
Oh,
she's like, I'm sorry. I was like, I know. I was like, and I know it's your job. And I know you have to tell me no, that I can't do it.
yeah.
Yeah, it was hard. So they sent me home. I went in, they sent me home, and then we talked. And we were like, what are we going to do? And then after that, I saw like four more doctors to see if they could do anything because I just wanted answers. I was like, is there anything that we can do? Like legally do, you know? I was like, I want to have an induction. I don't want him to die and not me know. I don't want to feel him. I just, I was like, I don't want to feel him just not be there anymore.
Yeah.
And like, I just wanted to hold him. That was my goal. Because I couldn't take him home, I wanted to hold him.
Mhm.
That was like the next best thing.
Mhm.
So, one of the doctors that we went to, she gave me a number to call, and unfortunately, it was for an abortion doctor. And she said he can help you. And I was like, I don't want to do this because I knew what was going to happen when I went in there. And when I went in there, he said that he could help me. He said, this is why we do services like this for women like this, for women in your situation,
Mhm.
because this is what it's supposed to be for. And that's a different topic, but
Yeah.
he said, I will help you. and I will make it so you can be able to hold your baby. Yeah. So we went in on November 9th, and we stopped Avery's heart humanely. I don't know what else to call it. It was humanely, and then he gave me a pill that, you're supposed to like put it under your tongue and it's supposed to start your labor. So we were driving home, and we went to get the medication from the pharmacy. And then we went back to the doctor's office so they could prep my cervix so it could start dilating. And now every time I go to the doctor's office or like the dentist, I've already had like a huge fear of needles. But then since that happened, I don't like people touching me with needles because that's all I think about.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, they kind of had to ripen my cervix. I guess that's
Yeah.
how they described it. They put these like they start to dilate you slowly,
Yeah.
and then like they're kind of like little like I don't want to say pins, but that's what they remind me of.
Mhm.
But they put about like 15 of them in my cervix to slowly like dilate.
Mm.
Um, we went to the pharmacy after that, and I could feel it. I could feel my cervix like starting to open, and the next 24 hours it was really hard because all I wanted to do was sleep. And I cried. If I
Yeah.
wasn't sleeping, I was crying.
Yeah.
And I didn't really eat anything because I didn't have an appetite. And that 24 hours, I don't really remember doing anything else except that. Like saying goodbye before you actually say goodbye.
Yeah.
I don't know how we do that. Planning to say goodbye before you have to, or before you want to. Yes, baby. I don't want something on the phone. Okay. And when so the night of November 10th, we we had to be at the hospital at like 6 o'clock, 6:37. So I put the pill under my tongue, called my mom. My mom came and got us. My sister watched Logan, and I didn't tell Logan anything, but he was my biggest support. He was the only thing that like kept me going.
Yeah.
I A 9-month-old was my rock at the time. And he still doesn't know. You know, like you depend on you would think that your own husband would be what you know what you need, but when you have other children, you're not supposed to lean on them for comfort and support, but he was the only thing that I could, because he needed me. He like I yeah I like, I don't wanna tell him that yet, because that's kind of a hard thing for me to tell him,
Yeah.
but he kept me going, and when I was leaving for the hospital, I told him that I loved him so much, and that I was so lucky that I had him, and, like, I was in pain because I was, like, my body had started to go into labor,
Yeah.
and we drove to the hospital, and we were waiting in the waiting room, and my water was starting to break, and I was a mess, like, I was like, "I don't wanna do this."
Oh,
I was like, "I don't want to." I was like, "I just wanna go home." I was like, "I wanna see my baby." But I couldn't I didn't want him to see me like that, and they took me back, and, like, they started taking out I have to think of the word because I don't know what they are, but they started taking the things out of my cervix, and they were like, "We can feel his head."
oh,
I was
he's
like I was like, "I don't" because I already knew that he had passed, and I was like, "I don't wanna do this." They were like, "Honey, you have to." I was like, "But I don't wanna go home without him." I was like "I don't wanna go home without him." And I I I I eventually just pushed. He came out in one push. He was very small.
oh, yeah.
And my mom's told me to stop pushing because he was already out, but I guess when I pushed him out, his the back of his skull wasn't formed.
Yeah.
So I guess his brain exploded.
Oh,
So they cleaned him up as much as they could, and you know, there was, he
yeah.
wasn't, he was very tiny.
Yeah.
He was only about a pound,
Uh-huh.
but he had brown eyes.
He did?
He had brown eyes,
Oh,
but he was already decomposing. So, I mean, I have pictures, but I want to keep those ones like
yeah. They're
to
special.
myself.
Yep.
Yeah, they're special. They're very raw.
Mm. Yeah.
Like I had no facial expression after he was born. And my grandma was there, and my husband at the time, his mom was there, and we all, you know, they all said their goodbyes and they all kissed him. And I was like, I need a minute with him. I was like, I need to be alone with him. Like, and the minutes they felt they felt like they went on too fast. They felt
Mhm.
too fast. There's not enough time. Like, I just wanted to take him home like that. Like, I didn't care.
Yeah.
I didn't care how he looked, but I couldn't take him home. I was like, "That's my baby." And I don't care. I was like, "I'll take him home right now. I'll take him home with me."
Yeah.
And they were like, "You can't take him home." I was like, "But I want to. I want to take him home." And not and being told that you can't take your baby home is like the worst thing that you could be told. And they took him. They were like, "We have to go do some testing and, get blood samples and stuff.
Oh,
And we're gonna go take pictures of him." I'm like, and I was like, "Will you bring him back?" They're like, "Yeah, we'll bring him back. We just need to make sure that, what his blood type is and everything."
okay.
And they did that. And they,
Were they planning on doing some genetic testing on him
yeah,
because of
yeah.
that? Okay.
And they brought him back after they did the testing. They took like a sample on his, I think it was his leg or
Mm,
something like that. I don't
okay.
really remember. Like afterwards, it was kind of like it's kind of like foggy for me after he was born.
Yeah.
So I don't
Uh,
really,
yes, it is extremely. You're like in shock, and yeah, it. You just I didn't have my head on me. I just felt completely out of
yeah.
sorts.
I And they took the pictures and they brought him back. And he was dressed in this like little gown thing.
Hmm.
It was white and it was like super cute. And he had his hat on,
Hmm.
this like green hat on. It was super cute. I was like, "I want that hat. Can I
Hmm.
have it?"
Yeah, I want that back.
Yeah. And then we, I held him, and then they said, "Eventually we're going to have to take him so we can prep him." And then here comes the, "How do you want him? Do you want him cremated or buried?" I'm like, I was like, "Do I have to decide this?"
Yeah, that's yep. It's like the
And
it, yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say it's just such a weird, bizarre question just to be like, I you just asked me what I want to do with the remains of my son. Yeah, this is what?
Yeah. And they said you can't do he can't be a donor
Mm,
because of how small he
yeah,
is
small.
and
Okay.
his his diagnosis.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And I was like, "Well, I thought that stuff didn't matter. Like I thought anything could be donated."
Mm-hmm.
But I guess because of what um his diagnosis was and how small he wasn't able to donate anything.
Yeah. Okay.
So I was like, "I want him cremated so I can take him home." That was the only way I was gonna be able to take him home.
Yeah.
I was like, "I don't want to bury him because just in case I move out of state, I want to be able to take him everywhere I go. I want him to do everything with me. I want him to be around,
Yeah.
even though like he's not physically here."
Right. Yeah. Did you what things did you guys do in order to make memories or to like spend time with him if that makes any sense? You mentioned already that they did the pictures.
Yeah.
Um they took his samples that they needed, but
Yeah.
were there any other things that you guys wanted to do to take time with him?
We talked to him about his brother,
Mm, yeah.
and we talked to him about the things that we wanted to do with him and how that he would always be a little brother and maybe a big brother one day.
Yeah.
And how he was the biggest surprise. I was like, Mommy and Daddy were not expecting you. You were just a surprise. I was like, but you were the best surprise ever.
Yeah.
And I was like, you taught me so many things. In just the short amount of time, in 6 months, he taught me so many things. And that's the biggest thing that he did for me. He taught me things about myself. And I remembered how his eyes looked. I know it's weird, but like I smelled him. I smelled him.
I think that's great. Yeah. Smell is such a good memory keeper, I think.
Yeah. And like you say you smelled your baby, but like I I just wanted to get all that in
Yeah.
before I could no longer do it.
Mhm.
And I kissed him, gave lots of kisses, and my grandma, she gave me this necklace. I mean, this bracelet.
Mhm.
Um, and it has a bunch of little angels on it.
Mm.
So I opened it with him in my arms.
Oh.
So that way we could open something together.
Oh. Like that.
And then the nurses came in and asked if we were ready.
Before, I wanna ask, you said that he has brown eyes and he was a little less than a pound? Is that how much did he weigh?
He weighed a pound and 12 ounces or
Oh, okay.
something. So he was tiny.
He's tiny. And that actually happens, I think, if you don't have any kidneys, then usually they're a little bit smaller,
Yeah.
on the smaller side anyway. And did they measure how long he was?
Yeah, he wasn't very big. Like he could, I want to say, like, I don't remember. Like he could almost fit like he was a little bit longer than my hand. He
Okay.
wasn't very he wasn't very big.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
they're little guys.
He was my tiny.
Yeah. Okay, and then the nurses came in. Did the hospital have a policy of how long you could keep your baby?
Like I think it's up to 24 hours,
Okay.
but the thing was is that I would have had to go into the maternity ward
Oh,
after
okay. And he was born what time?
9:50 p.m.
9:50 PM. Okay. And what time
Yeah.
did they come in?
About 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning.
Mm,
They gave us a few hours with him,
mhm.
and they were like, "You can have as much time with him as you want." But I knew that there would never be enough time.
Yeah. Yep.
Never be enough time. So I said, 5 more minutes, please. Just 5 more minutes. And after I said the 5 minutes, like they closed the door and I told him, I was like, I am so sorry. I was just like, I'm sorry. And like, I'm still sorry. Like 6 years later, I'm still sorry. I told him I'm sorry that I couldn't keep you safe. And I was like, I'm sorry that I couldn't take you home. So it's just so bad. It's just like, and now I know that I didn't have to say sorry because I didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah. You did.
But at the time, I thought I did. I thought, or I didn't do anything. Something I did or didn't do, right?
Right. Yes.
So I hugged him and I kissed him. Of course, like I didn't wrap him up. I should have wrapped him up, but I didn't because I wanted to see him.
Mhm.
I wanted to see his feet and his hands and his nose, and like I just wanted to see all of him just so I could remember. And his hands, he had like long skinny fingers.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, and his feet, he had my feet.
You're like, those are mine.
Yeah, they were kind of big. He kind of had like big feet. And he was tiny, but he had like big hands.
Yeah.
He had like manly hands for a baby.
For a
I
baby.
thought it was cute. They were like long, skinny, like hands. His hands were long and skinny, and his fingers were skinny. He was just perfect. He was perfect to me. And yeah, he was just perfect. At the end of it all, he was just perfect
I know.
to me.
Isn't that amazing? Just to be like, oh, they're just perfect. Yes, they are.
Yeah, not for you. You can't have that one. Um,
So then the nurses came in.
they took him. I was like, hold on. I was like, and I wrapped him up, and like I took the biggest breath, like because I didn't know what else to do. I didn't want to cry, but I was like crying anyway.
Yeah, you can't help but cry.
And as like I was breathing in, I was like wrapping him up, and like I kissed him one last time, and I was like, and I just placed him gently in the nurse's hands. And she said, "Are you sure?" I'm like, "Am I sure of what?" I'm like, that's it. This is it. This is it for me. This is like, you're gonna take him eventually, right? You're gonna have to take him eventually. So they took him, and I just laid there watching them take him. I had no words. They, so I got dressed. They gave me my discharge papers as I was getting dressed and everything. They were like, just sign here and we'll have everything ready for like the funeral home and everything. And they had to sign a bunch of release forms. I don't get it. They make you sign so many release forms.
Yep,
Make
they do.
sure it's okay with
Yep,
you.
they do.
I'm like, can't you just make it easy for me, please? Just one signature, not like 10.
Get me out of this place. That's what I thought.
Yeah. And they gave me a box and it had a bunch of little things in it. And they put his pictures in there. And they had a blanket, a little baby blanket in there,
Yeah.
and they put a gown. They put his gown that he was wearing in there.
Oh, good.
And they put they didn't put his hat in there. I was mad because they didn't put his hat in there.
Oh, bummer.
But it's okay. Um and then there was a quote by Dr. Seuss in there. There was a pin and I think there was like something else. I can't remember what it was. Oh, and there was this little micro diaper in there.
Yeah, when
Yeah,
they're tiny. They're
yeah. And it had like a little safety pin in it.
mm.
Um,
And then did you
but
guys just discharge like in early morning then?
yeah, we left at like 4. We left at 4.
And you were feeling physically okay? I mean, you just
Yeah, I
okay.
was I was I mean, I don't know. I wasn't really feeling anything.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Nope, it's understandable. You have gone through such a that was a
It was
traumatic
kind of like a
evening.
blur, like
Yeah,
I couldn't I couldn't wrap my head around it.
yeah,
But yeah, I went home and everything seemed different when I got home.
yeah. It usually is.
I it just it felt cold. I felt like there was no life left in my home. That's is that like a feeling? Is that
Yep.
is that how you explain it? Like
Yeah. That's a great way to explain it. It's just
like
yeah, it's gray. Like it just was gray for a long time there.
yeah. Gray is definitely a color.
Lisa, did you guys end up having any sort of memorial or a funeral? I know that you a- asked to be have him cremated. Just wondering if
We
you
we didn't, but we decided that we wanted to have people come over when they wanted to
mm,
and talk with us and like see him if and when they wanted to. I didn't want to pressure anybody
yeah,
because I know how people are when it comes to death and babies, and it's not a subject that people are really open to
yeah,
and comfortable with.
yeah, it's so hard and yeah, people don't know what to say. So yes,
Yeah.
that's good that you just like kind of left it open so they could come.
And my mom was there a lot. My dad was. My husband's mom was over there a lot. My sister, my brother wouldn't come over there because he didn't know what to say.
Yeah,
And I was like, "It's fine.
it's okay.
It's okay."
Yeah, it is hard on all levels.
And the holidays rolled around. Like he was born literally 2 weeks before Thanksgiving.
Mhm.
We were having Thanksgiving over at my mom's house. And it just I didn't want to celebrate Thanksgiving. I didn't want to celebrate Christmas,
Mhm.
my birthday. I was done.
Yeah.
I was done with the whole holiday. I was just done with it. And I remember I was sitting outside of my mom's house crying because I didn't want to go in there. Like I was dreading the whole thing, just like seeing everybody.
Yep.
My sister came out and she was like, "We have to go inside because it's cold." I was like, "That's fine." I was like, "I'll stay out here because it's cold." And then she told my dad that, "No, don't do that." And then she told my dad, and my dad had to hel- come grab, come pick me up and walk me inside because I wouldn't move.
Yeah. It's so
So,
hard. It's so hard to be yeah.
and I tried to have a good time. Sorry, he wanted to be. um, he, my, I tried to have a good time. It was just hard. I couldn't find anything that I enjoyed anymore. Nothing Nothing was enjoyable anymore after Avery.
Yeah.
I couldn't do anything without thinking anything, like think except anything of him.
It's just
Like it's not I I remember like when I was still pregnant with Avery and Logan would want to watch movies with me, those movies I still can't watch.
Because of the association with the time. Yep,
Yeah.
it's too hard.
And we would watch Moana all the time
Mhm,
because that was like Logan's favorite movie at the time, so we would watch it consistently. And
mhm,
now I can't watch it.
yeah, yep,
I can't watch it.
it's just associated with the grief.
And we nothing was the same after.
Yeah, never is.
Everything like fell apart afterwards. I got severely depressed.
Yeah,
And
it's
I
understandable.
was barely sleeping, eating. I lost weight. My hair is falling out. Like nothing, nothing was working the way I wanted it to.
Yeah,
And all I wanted was my baby. That's all I wanted. Now, when I look back at it, I don't think I was selfish for wanting that. But
not
I guess
one
when
bit.
you're in the midst of the grief and it is just everywhere, that's all you want. And you just want the pain to stop.
Mm,
And you just want answers.
yeah,
And you never get those answers.
yeah. Because everything usually comes back fine, and there's no reason that it happened.
Yep. And you just learn how to fit it into your life.
Yeah, you take the grief with you.
Mhm.
It,
And it's definitely a messy process.
yep, it is. It is.
And the worst part is that it never goes away fully.
It doesn't. It really does become a part of who you are and how you see the world now.
Yeah. And especially when you're those kinds of people that think that bad things don't happen,
Mm,
or one of the worst things that can't happen won't happen to you.
yeah, yeah.
Nobody comes out unscathed.
Lisa, thank you so much for sharing
Welcome.
Avery's story. That was heartbreaking, and it's so hard and complicated, and yeah, just a process.
Yeah,
But thank you so much for sharing his story.
welcome.